How can Longines justify the increase in its prices and its entry into high-end watchmaking? This has been a prolific year for the brand, where they are challenging higher-end brands and they've done quite well with some new models. The one that I have here is the Longines Legend Diver, and it was one of the most talked about launches from the brand in recent years. I'll leave the watch features here. Interestingly, when brands reissue some of their vintage watches, they generally make them a bit larger, since back then they were typically 36 or 38 millimeters. But in this case, Longines took inspiration from the original Legend Diver, which measured 42 millimeters, and listened to what people wanted, which was to make it smaller. Remember that the biggest issue with watches isn't the size of the case, but the size of the lug-to-lug. The 42mm Legend Diver had lug-to-lug measurements of over 50 millimeters, which made it a huge watch. Now, I've worn this watch for several days, and there are things that I loved about it and things that I think could be improved. What I liked the most about this watch was the size. 39mm is the perfect size for my wrist. It's versatile and comfortable, but what I loved is that they designed the case so that the lugs aren't very long. I feel that that's a problem that Longines do with some of their divers, like the Skin Diver or like the original Legend Diver, because they have really long lugs, and no matter how much I like them and I want to wear them, it just doesn't work. The watch comes with several strap options, including a grains of rice bracelet, a leather strap, or in this case, the NATO strap. And if you want to wear it casually, it's perfect. I think it's the best choice for this watch. It looks amazing, and I believe this watch offers a much more elegant proposal than having the classic rotating bezel on the outside. In this case, we have a super compressor style design, which is recognizable by the two crowns. The lower one is for winding and setting the time, and the upper one is for turning the internal bezel. The sapphire crystal covers all of the watch, including the bezel, and I think can be both an advantage and a disadvantage, and we'll discuss that later. The dial is blue, but it's a very muted navy blue that reminds me of the blue on the Tudor Black Bay 58. In this case, it looks like a lacquered dial with the logo printed on it. The lume looks good because it is a two-tone lume, but this is where the problems start. Now let's talk about the things I don't like about the watch, and we'll go back to the lume. It's not a bright, spectacular lume, it's acceptable. But I think Longines missed the opportunity to enhance the perceived quality of their watch. First, they missed the chance to add lume to all the indicators on the bezel, which would have made this watch essentially a flashlight because it would shine much brighter. And second, it wouldn't make this watch feel so small in the dark. One problem I see is that this watch has a very small dial, evidently because it needs to accommodate the internal rotating bezel while keeping the 39mm size, which I understand perfectly. But doesn't it look a bit too small? When you don't see the bezel, maybe it looks like a 25mm dial, which is really small. The internal bezel is extremely useful. It's safe because you don't have to worry about accidentally moving it. But I think it's a challenging design that takes away the interaction with the watch, making it harder to perceive its quality. And we will talk more about this later in the video when we compare this watch with the Tudor Black Bay. I like the enamel dial, but personally, I would have appreciated a bit more texture on it. Maybe an applied logo instead of a printed one, or different levels to truly appreciate the quality this watch has. And here we arrive at the most important point, which is the price. The 42mm Legend Diver is priced at under $3,000, while this new 39mm version is edging closer to $4,000. It's understandable that a new model will increase in price, and this watch also uses a new caliber for this model. the L888. It is a really advanced movement with anti-magnetic components and a 72-hour power reserve, which is quite good. But we return to the same topic we've discussed several times with Longines. Please Google the caliber L888, and on any page that provides information about this movement, you will find that it is a caliber based on an ETA A31 movement. For the general public, it's still complicated to justify spending $4,000 on a watch with a caliber that it's basic or generic, even though it's modified, although it's decorated. And in people's mind, it's still an ETA caliber. If I were Longines, I would launch a complete campaign to rebrand my in-house calibers, changing the brand perception of all this history they have with ETA movements. The idea would be to develop an entirely new caliber, completely different and fully decorated, and above all, show it to the world. So in my mind and in the mind of many customers, justifying these price increases would make sense. Because love it or not, Longines is already in the high-end watch department, rubbing shoulders with Tudor, Oris, and their in-house calibers, and with many other brands. So if they manage to change that brand perception about their calibers, I believe it would be a total hit. For this review, I was ready to basically destroy this watch. But after wearing it for a few days, I started to like it. It's extremely comfortable, very nice, flies under the radar, but above all, it's made of high quality. And in reality, the problem really isn't the ETA movements, because they are actually super reliable movements of very high quality. Rather, the issue comes from the brand perception, that all ETA movements are generic. That's the real problem for Longines. And even though Swatch owns ETA, that perception has been around for years and will be very difficult to change. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful quality field watch that I really like. But will it be the Black Bay killer? We'll find out soon.